Hey everyone, in this video I want to share with you the unboxing and first impressions of this palette by Van Gogh. I got it for my recent birthday. I show it shortly in my birthday haul. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. I'll put a link. And I wanted to open it and swatch it. I think besides the fact that buying watercolor palettes is really fun. But then again, I try not to get basic ones. And for the most part, that works just because I have so many and I use certain colors now. So getting kind of a basic palette for the most part is not that usable for me anymore because they'll usually be those greens and earth tones that I won't be using. But yeah, this one is interesting. Van Gogh has several of these sets, and I do like the concept. They have kind of a basic set which has 15 pans. I'm not sure it's that easily available, but make sure you check it out because if you want to test this brand and if you want like a basic palette, then the 15 half pans is your probably the best deal. And also it really annoys me that they make these sets in this particular box with just 12 colors when they could easily fit 3 more in. I wouldn't even want, like, you don't have to put 15 paints in, just make 15 slots and let us add 3 extra paints. The wasted space in a compact, supposed to be travel friendly palette is really annoying to me. So that's my criticism. Other than that, I really like the brand for several reasons. For me personally, it's made in Europe, which is, you know, more local to me than, say, like Daniel Smith, which I love their paint, but it's a US brand. And I do try as much as I can to kind of support the local economy if possible. So it is definitely for me a plus in my book to have a European brand. They are also quite affordable. I'm not exactly sure about the formulation of this paint. Royal Talents, the manufacturer of Van Gogh, has another watercolor brand or line called Rembrandt, which is more the traditional artist grade color range type of situation that I'm used to from other brands. And their Van Gogh one seems more like a student grade paint in the color selection and the price. However, I think the performance of the paint is really good, but they do use cheaper pigments, which of course makes the paint affordable. Anyway, I talk more about both of these in a specific brand introduction type of video. I will link you to that also, but they have several of these smaller sets. They have a lot of sets, and I actually also like that, even though it can be a bit overwhelming. I think getting a set is kind of a good way to dip your toe in like new shades or new color palette, as opposed to having a large color selection and having to choose, you know, a bunch of new colors. So I do like the sets for that reason. And in the Van Gogh line, they have a pink set, which I got because I couldn't resist. They have one for like nature colors, I think. There's the bright set, which I also have. And there's a muted one. There's a metallic one. So check out and see what's available in your part of the world. Jackson's now also carries them, and not everything, but they do have a selection. So I picked up this muted palette from my local art store, and it has 12 colors in it. I think kind of the motivation to get it was that they included neutral tint in it, and I really wanted to try. Oh, I also forgot to mention that this line, as well as the Rembrandt, is vegan. I think with the exception of maybe one paint that contains, there's a specific black pigment that is made from animal bones. So I'm not sure if they have it in their range. I think maybe they do. But other than that, the formula itself is vegan. So there's no honey, there's no ox gall in it, which also makes this very appealing to me, because other brands that I really love, like Schminke and Sennelier, that are also based in Europe, are not vegan. At least Schminke, their student grade is vegan, but their student grade is also quite expensive. So anyway, I picked up this set, and what I want to say, I have played with it a little bit since filming this video. I really like it. I don't know if I would have picked all of the colors that they did, but I think they did a good job. For me personally, the Gamboge color and Quinacridone Rose, while I will absolutely get my money's worth out of these because I use them all the time, I don't know if I would include them in a muted palette. It's true that they give you more versatility. You can mix more colors, but I think most people are not going to buy this palette as their basic go-to one, but probably as an addition to an existing palette or collection of watercolors. So for that reason, I don't know why they included them. And if they wanted this palette to also be a standalone one, then I feel like they should have probably included something like ultramarine blue, or I don't like phthalo blue, but that would also be kind of a primary blue that they could include. So not really sure about that, but the neutral colors are really, really beautiful. They tend to be on the opaque side, which I don't mind. I do like that when I want a kind of a muted color. I also enjoy having that little bit of opacity and kind of getting that muddy color. I really enjoy creating and mixing interesting muddy grays. And you can see this one that I mixed from, I think I made it from yellow ochre and lavender. It gave me this really, really interesting, beautiful gray. So I do like, sometimes you think a muted palette, you'll get like a lot of like grays and I don't know, maybe browns or something like that. And there are a few here, but I think they made like a good choice with, yellow ochre is kind of more of an earthy yellow. And then there's the Naples yellow red, which is kind of like a very muted orange, let's say, like a light pastel-y orange. Lavender is ultramarine with white. They added the turquoise green, which is also, I wouldn't say a very muted color, but it's beautiful, and you can mix it with the other colors and get like these really interesting tones. So I do think this is a good palette. I think you can, while maybe not all the colors are very muted to start with, once you start blending them and mixing them, you get very interesting blends that are more muted. And because there are a lot of like colors here that are more earthy or secondary or tertiary colors, it is very easy to get those semi-neutrals and neutrals. So I think it's a good, mixture of having some muted colors, but then also having the possibility and opportunity to play with mixing your own colors. So I really enjoy it. Also, it has some nice granulating colors. The lavender is granulating. And then I was really interested in the Dave's Green, I think this color is called. You can see it on the screen. It's on the bottom row of the palette, second from the right. It's, kind of like this very earthy, muted green. It has a nice granulation. I think these palettes, well, actually any palette that is not super, super basic, I think it's a good opportunity for a brand to introduce the painter to some of their own signature colors. And a good example for that would be, in my opinion, the 24 half pan set from Sennelier. That was my first artist grade set that I got. It comes in like a regular metal tin, and it cost me, I think, about 100 euros, which is a lot of money, but quite average in these types of sets. And I really feel that Sennelier did a great job in that particular set. I will link you to it below so you can look at it, because it has kind of what you would need or expect a 24 half pan set to have. But then they also included some somewhat like special colors, and I think they did a really great job. I would say kind of the same thing about this set. Yeah, maybe they could have made it a little bit more special. They do have, though, their dusk colors, I think they're called, which is basically just like popular pigments or very used pigments combined with a granulating black. But those are fun to play with, and they are muted colors. So I kind of wish they put at least one in this palette. I mean, they could have tossed the quinacridone rose, which they have, I think, in 2 other palettes, and added the dusk pink, for example. And that Dave green is a good example for that. I think lavender is another good choice, because I think the color became very popular once Daniel Smith came out with their own version, but this will cost you a fraction of the price, and I think they made a beautiful version of it. Naples Yellow Red is another good example. I have the Schminke version. I think the Schminke one is called Naples Yellow Reddish. It's a beautiful color. I think it's a good choice for skin tones, especially if you tweak it a little bit. And, you know, the Schminke brand is expensive, and this particular color is also with Schminke. It's a mixture of like 4 pigments, and while I love their formula and everything, I really think this would be, especially if you do a lot of sketching, I absolutely think the Van Gogh version is a good one to try out. So now I'm just playing, I don't know what I was doing. I just wanted to get some of this on paper more than the swatches. Mixing the colors was really fun. I can really only say, you know, good things about these sets. Sometimes you open something and on paper, it's like nice, but once you actually start using it, you realize if you really enjoy it or not. And this comes also a lot, it comes down to personal preference. But I really enjoyed the experience of playing with this palette. And then I also played with it alongside my other palette. I also picked up the Van Gogh 24 half pan set. And I do want to share my unboxing and review of that set with you, because it was so affordable. And I think it's a definite contender in kind of a startup set if you want to, you know, explore watercolors, but you don't want to break the bank. So I kind of played with both of these side by side. I think maybe there's only one color that overlaps. I think the quinacridone rose, maybe the gamboge is also in the 24 set. But other than that, I think they really chose the colors nicely. So you will definitely enjoy it in addition to other basic sets that you have if you want to play a bit. Also, their gold green color is really nice. That version is really lovely. I use gold green a lot. It's probably my most used green. That and something like a turquoise green. Those are my favorite greens to use. Their indigo is lovely. The neutral tint is also interesting. I think it's a little bit on the purplish side. I have to play with it a little bit more. Yellow ochre is nice. The buff titanium is slightly anemic. I need to play with it a little bit more. From what I used it till now, it's not my favorite, but lighter colors are tricky, especially if, like me, you tend to use watercolors in a more kind of loose and fluid way. With lighter colors, you know, they're good for like mixing with other colors, muddying up a color, that's a good use for buff titanium. Or if you use it more thickly, then you can kind of enjoy more the opacity. But yeah, lighter colors are a little bit tricky. So final conclusions. I really enjoy the set. I think they did a good job. I would recommend it if you want to expand a little bit your color palette, if maybe you have just kind of basic sets and you want to try something new, or if you like to explore new brands, but maybe you already have basic sets and you just want to try a new brand, but also kind of colors that are not in every set, then I think you will enjoy this one. Make sure you check also their other sets. Maybe there's a different set that is more appealing to you, that would be more useful to you. I think their formula is good. The paint is very, very creamy, which I like, but that means you kind of have to know how to mix it with water to get the appropriate thickness that you're after, or opacity, or general look. So you can see this paint can get very intense. It has a very creamy formula. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in another one very soon. Bye bye.